The Minnesota mother who used a bad word to describe a black kid who stole something out of her bag at the park and then went viral on TikTok for all the twits, literally tried to ruin her life, has become a major cultural figure. And this story is getting bigger by the day. And coming this next week, Monday, Tuesday, you may finally start to see some of the conservative Inc. hosts weigh in on the situation. They've been afraid to say anything about it because they don't want to be accused of being racist by defending this woman for what she said, but I certainly will. And the mainstream media has been reluctant to cover this story because the more attention it gets, the more support the woman gets, and the more money is raised on the crowdfunding platform Give, Send, Go for her. And it's not about getting her hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to give restitution to what is essentially her life being destroyed by the people on TikTok. They've done this to numerous other people. This is about sending a message that we're not going to tolerate cancel culture anymore. We're not going to tolerate the online anger mobs ruining people's lives, especially white people, when they use a little word that either hurts black people's feelings because they have black fragility, or they pretend that it does, so that they can use that leverage to gain power over white people. So subscribe to the channel here if you're new, and stay tuned because we're going to go very deep here. This is from Newsweek magazine, the first kind of major outlet to cover this. Woman who called kid N-word, oh no, raises over $300,000 to relocate. This from the New York Post. Minnesota mom rakes in over $500,000 after calling boy with autism the N-word. Now, there are claims on the internet that the boy was 5 years old. The photo of him from the video, the still, certainly doesn't look like a 5-year-old. He looks more like a 10-year-old. And I highly doubt that he actually is autistic. That's probably just a euphemism for crack baby. Her Give, Send, Go, which is a crowdsourcing platform. It's the alternative to GoFundMe, which would never allow something like this. GoFundMe banned Kyle Rittenhouse, you may recall, of course, who did nothing wrong. And so this page now is up to, well, let's refresh it. 587,000 when I pulled up this tab for this video. $593,000. By the way, I will leave a link to this down in the description below if you want to help push this to 1 million. And again, it's not about making this woman a millionaire or giving her hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's about sending a message. Because we're not going to allow white people's lives to be ruined if they utter a little word that offends certain black people. Like they did to Lily Gaddis, that cute girl who was doing a cooking video and then was using some ghetto slang, just trying to be cool, not even trying to offend anybody, not using the word aimed at anybody, just using the cool ghetto slang that's popularized in rap culture. But then they canceled her. She got doxxed, harassed, fired from her job. And like this former University of Kentucky student who was kicked out of school and then sentenced to a year in jail. It says for assaulting a fellow student, but that's not why she was sentenced to jail. It's all on video. She mildly pushed another girl. There was no injury. There was no malice. She was drunk, but she was uttering the little N-word, and so she got a year in jail. This is about ending the double standard when black people call white people racial slurs with zero consequence. I just asked Grok, which is Twitter's ChatGPT, just to come up with a list of some of them. And I'm not offended by any of these. Cracker, oh no, honky, whitey, Becca Wood, redneck, white trash, mayo monkey. It just goes on and on. White bread, Casper, yokel, never heard that one. I couldn't care less if black people use these words. People used to be able to say the N-word on all social media platforms. It was no big deal. But then the cancel culture mob started coming for them. And they did a compilation of Joe Rogan saying it probably dozens of times on his podcast over the years. And then when that went viral, he did the shameful thing and then he apologized and said that no white people should ever use that word in any context. You may have seen this compilation. If not, I'll post it on my locals page. I shouldn't show it here, otherwise YouTube will probably take my video down for supposed hate speech. But there's a compilation here of the Young Jerks, Chunk Uger, and Anna Kasparian and others using the word over and over and over again. Hard R in the past, before society got soft and before we bowed down to black supremacy. Because of this viral video and the massive funds that have been raised and all the support that people have, stunning those on the left that anybody would dare defend a white person using the little word, I'm also now seeing the word or the phrase black fatigue come into the public lexicon. I would never see anybody talking about this on social media, especially none of the mainstream figures on the right, or even the kind of the wannabe mainstream Twitter personalities and YouTube hosts. But now I am seeing people talk about black fatigue, which, if you haven't heard about it, describes the mental exhaustion from being forced to care about black people and their actions 24/7. And now the NAACP, which stands for the National Association of Colored People, but again, you're not even supposed to say that anymore as a white person, but obviously I couldn't care less. The Rochester branch of the NAACP has now created a Give, Send, Go page for the child that was called the little word. And they raised $341,000 because apparently the child is just so traumatized now that he too needs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's a still image from the viral video. You can't tell me that this is a 5-year-old. He looks more like he is 10 or 11. And of course, they want the woman arrested. Digging deeper, this is like a local news station. Legal expert weighs in on viral video of reported racial slurs toward a child. And I know that some people are saying that she shouldn't have called the child that was crossing the line, but it really was what's called an excited utterance. It's when somebody just says something in the heat of the moment, like if you drop and break something, or if you bump in and hurt yourself or stub your toe, you might just swear, and you don't mean to, it just kind of comes out. These things happen. And I don't see it any different than calling the kid a punk. Because like Chris Rock said, there's black people and there's...
And have got to go.
KTTC is reaching out to law enforcement in the wake of a video going viral on social media that was reportedly recorded in Rochester, and many of our viewers have contacted us about it.
They're reaching out to law enforcement. They're tattling on this woman to the police because so many people want her arrested.
We can now confirm Rochester police have received multiple calls about the video and are actively looking into the matter. The Rochester branch of the NAACP released a statement today about the video, saying it is outraged and deeply disturbed by the incident, saying in part, quote, "We call on the City of Rochester Police Department, the City of Rochester's City Attorney's Office, and Olmsted County Attorney's Office to launch a full investigation and to file all appropriate charges," end quote.
What charges? There's the First Amendment, freedom of speech. If you don't like it, go back to Africa. This is another reason why so many people are donating to her page, because the powers that be most likely will launch a vicious lawfare campaign against her, investigating her with CPS, trying to take her kids away, probably filing civil lawsuits against her, claiming defamation or claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress against the black kid. And so she's going to need a lot of money to defend against those. And this could very well be the end of Give, Send, Go. They may have to shut down because of this, because the credit card processors are most likely very soon going to stop doing business with them altogether. And to their credit, they didn't take the page down. They did turn the comments off, though, in order to try to appease the credit card processors who undoubtedly are reaching out to them and pressuring them to shut it down, saying that because people were posting, mean things on not only Shiloh Hendricks' page, but also on Carmelo Anthony's page. The black people were posting a lot of anti-white stuff on Shiloh Hendricks' page. People were expressing their opinions that they're tired of the double standard, et cetera, et cetera. And so he posted something on Twitter, on X, explaining the reason for that. But Discover actually cut ties with Give, Send, Go because of the Kyle Rittenhouse defense, because it was so atrocious that they would allow fundraising for someone who obviously, and then ultimately, as the court decided, jury of his peers, didn't do anything wrong. And the platform is a Christian platform, and they took the principled stance to not only allow Kyle to fundraise, but also Carmelo Anthony. There were many on the right who were calling for that page to be taken down. He's the thug who killed the white kid at the track meet that raised over $500,000 for his defense. But the CEO posted that they're taking the principled stance that they are going to allow anybody to fundraise on that page. And so, again, I think this is probably the end of Give, Send, Go, sadly. And since a picture is worth 1,000 words, there are plenty of memes being created and going viral illustrating this situation, like this one, which, if you're not familiar with this original picture, it's called Free Speech, and it's a guy standing up and saying what others are afraid to say. And so the woman has been swapped out with his face, and she is a queen now. And this one, say that to my face. Let's see what happens. LOL. Well, a pile of money happened. Here's a Voldemort Zelensky. I'll say the N-word too. Please send money. Obviously, many of the twits on TikTok are very upset and confused about why this is happening. They just can't understand why so many people would have this woman's back and raise over $500,000 for her.
So, did y'all see that video?
Okay, I don't know if somebody added that or if this is in the original. Did you hear that? That was a smoke alarm beep in the background. I did not add that.
So, did y'all see that video of the Caucasian lady calling a little boy the N-word?
Yeah.
Her name is Shiloh. Go look it up. Tell me why this heifer had the audacity to start a GoFundMe because her family not safe. And people donated. Meanwhile, I have a GoFundMe so I can raise $15,000 to go back to school so I can get my teacher certification. Am I the wrong color? Like,
and you guys raised $250,000 for her?
Now over $500,000, yes.
I am beyond disturbed. Black fragility is getting pretty tiring. Sometimes to be accurate, you have to use unpleasant speech.
Yeah.
I want to say that I'm shocked. But I'm not shocked. I'm angry.
Oh, well.
Can't even.
Go cry about it.
So, you know about that Shiloh, right? She was able to raise nearly $500,000. At the time that I'm recording this anyway, nearly $500,000.
Over $500,000 now, yeah.
I probably made it worse for myself.
She's literally crying about it.
I probably made it worse for myself by going to the actual page and looking up what people were the comments that they were leaving when they were donating to her.
We don't care anymore, and neither should you, lady. In fact, it's people like you who caused this to happen, because when a person utters a little word as an insult to some punk who steals something from them in a park, it certainly shouldn't be going viral on the internet. It certainly shouldn't be a national news story. It shouldn't be any different than a woman calling the punk a punk. And I give it a few more hours before the guy who recorded the video launches a GoFundMe page for himself too. This from the local news. Continuing coverage. I'm sure this is like the major story in that community. Rochester man speaks out after recording racial slurs. Oh no. This is that person who is purportedly a Somali refugee, just like Ilhan Omar, because there's a big Somali population there in Minnesota, which explains why she continues to get reelected, who himself was arrested for allegedly doing terrible things with a child. But the local prosecutor mysteriously decided to drop those charges, probably because, not that he didn't do it and there wasn't enough evidence to convict, but in the name of what these liberal prosecutors call racial justice, because, well, it would look bad if more immigrants and more people of color are arrested for committing the crimes that they commit here. A lot of fake news being spread about this woman, claiming that her boyfriend is black, which is not true, claiming that she's a single mother, which is not true, from people like Ian Miles Chong, who is just a worthless, bottom-feeding troll on Twitter, who claimed that white nationalists are upset after finding out that Shiloh Hendricks is, well, you can read that, with a black guy, but he got community noted because that's not even her. And so far, I haven't seen a single conservative ink host or any of the wannabe mainstream conservative YouTubers or social media personalities even weigh in on this situation at all. Because, again, they don't want to be seen as defending this woman for saying that mean little word, because they don't want to be called a racist. This story is going to separate the wheat from the chaff. It's going to expose who the actual free speech culture warriors are and who are the cowards and the phonies. I'm Mark Dice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and if you want to support my work, Join my locals community by clicking the link in the description below for $5 a month, or head on over to markdice.com and pick up any of my shirts. Now also tank tops for the summer. All of my designs, from the new I Love MAGA to the classic Trump Fight, 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 Operation Mockingbird. The warning contains facts and opinions some may find offensive. The I Love White People tank top. All available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie. Now tank tops as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.